Within the last 15 years, I've spent much time formulating unique builds, unique achievements, and unique goals all throughout Runescape. My gameplay has always been more geared towards theory crafting and planning in order to achieve a goal which may seem impossible. More and more, I'm finding there is not much left in Runescape which can actually be deemed impossible. Therefore, I wanted to create an account with restrictions so unbelievable that they made the goals even more unbelievable themselves. So, I bring you my new series, Potato Only Hardcore Ironman. In this series, I plan to be taking on quests, minigames, and any other challenge you can think of with bare minimum restrictions and requirements. This will literally be a bottom of the barrel account, where along with those very low stat requirement restrictions that I will put on each quest and minigame I partake in, I will also only be allowed to eat raw potatoes as a consumable food. Raw potatoes only heal 1 HP each, putting them at the lowest tier on the food chain of Runescape. As well, being a hardcore Ironman means that if I die at any point in any challenge, my status will be taken off the account and I will end the series at that point. I will start the account out with high tier restrictions on low tier quests and move the account up from there. The high tier restrictions that you will see me start off with will be those that I will be keeping as 10 HP, 1 defense, 1 prayer, and even initially 1 agility. Each video will be separated out by 1 video of preparation and 1 video of the actual more difficult quest. If this series is something that sounds like it interests you, please give me some feedback in the comments and give me some advice on some achievements I should go for next, as well as maybe drop me a subscribe so you can catch the next video as soon as it's released. This account was actually originally developed for an episode of Rendi Ventures, but I figured it could be expanded upon and developed into its own series and take everything to a whole nother level. So on this series, I will be covering very briefly some mechanics I see used throughout the progress of the account, but I will not go into as much detail as the Rendi Ventures series is intended to. So on that note, a first tip and trick you can see in the progress of this account would be that you can actually skip even getting an axe or a tinderbox from the woodcutting tutorial. If there is someone else around you who has already lit a fire, you can actually go ahead and just use your shrimps, cook the shrimp, and move on to the cook. There's also ways to get reduced combat XP in Tutorial Island, but since this account has a long-term goal of getting combat XP eventually anyways, I didn't think that was really necessary. The last weird thing I ran into on Tutorial Island was that of actually trying to interface as I left the island just to see what happened. So, yikes. Already a terrible start to the Ironman. We have lost half our starter gear due to a Jagex implementation of a failsafe. Come to find out, that is there because before people would interface out with ruins and arrows after they had gathered a mass amount on their Ironman or even regular account, and they would interface and drop those. Therefore, all stackable items, if you intend to interface on the exit of Tutorial Island, will be deleted. So obviously from here I went and bonded the account, and from there I went and thieved some men in order to get some starter cash for the bare essentials. From here I decided I want my first achievement to be the Underground Pass quest line, with those restrictions I mentioned earlier as 10 HP, 1 defense, 1 agility, and 1 prayer. The only stat requirement for Underground Pass and all its prereqs is literally 25 range. Therefore, I needed to route my account for the fastest possible way to get 10 HP and 25 range while still staying 1 agility. Most people at this point would think the obvious answer would be farm gold for a cannon and use that to train your range. Unfortunately, because I am trying to stay 1 agility for the Underground Pass quest, the only possible methods that are really safe for a hardcore at this level would be ham thieving or agility pyramid, both which require or give agility XP. Therefore, I look towards construction for alternative means of gaining range EXP without HP. The hoop and stick game can be put in a games room of a player-owned house and gives 2.5 range XP per successful throw on the target. This game required 30 construction, so I decided that's what needed to actually be done first. So I spent some time gathering these potatoes up to make my way towards Barbarian Assault all the way from Lumbridge. If you guys didn't know, there's a pathway you can take around White Wolf Mountain while still being on the mountain but avoiding all wolf damage. While at Barbarian Assault, I went ahead and completed the tutorial, which you can now actually skip, in order to get the minigame telly back to Barbarian Assault, which I'll need for all these already based quests. From here I used the Barbarian Assault bank and hopped worlds while gathering planks at the spawn location. This actually didn't take much time at all, and I only needed roughly 468 planks in order to get 30 construction. From here I had to figure out how to gather the cash together to buy the nails in order to train my construction to 30. And I'm just a little bit daring, so I went ahead and went to the security stronghold. But first I had to gather more potatoes, this time with sacks. If you guys didn't know, you can actually brute force the second doors here without actually having to answer any security questions. Sometimes it can take many clicks, but as long as you have an authenticator set on your account, you're easily able to just mass click through all the chat messages and go straight through the door. Now this is probably the sketchiest room here, as we had to have Platinum gather the aggro on all of these catapult pawns. They hit 7s, and they can easily shoot you 2, maybe even 3 times with the stall on opening the door, so therefore I really needed to get these things off of me. So let's all agree, the boots, they're just garbage. The bronze boots, I didn't need them, I just needed the 10k coins, so I didn't even bother risking my account obviously for the next floor. Went ahead and teleported out, moved on to the next task. Went ahead and got my steel nails at the sawmill by hopping worlds, and then proceeded back to Remington to train my construction to 30. So as you can see, I ran into another small problem here where I actually needed 25k to even build the room to put the hoop and stick in. So once again, making money on this account is extremely tedious due to the agility restriction it currently holds. But first I realized I needed 15 wood cutting in order to gather the 2 oak planks that the hoop and stick actually requires to be built. Next I booked it over to Alcarad to start the grind of the money making process for just that small amount of 25k. Here I went through long, boring chat dialogues of buying 1 piece of silk at only 3 coins per piece with the small cash stack I already had left from the security stronghold. After I bought around 200 silk, I made my way back to Artie to sell the silk to the silk merchant for a nice profit. I then took this profit and doubled it by buying Greywolf fur at the Artie fur trader. If you didn't know, talking to Bravik while having Greywolf fur in your inventory triggers a hidden chat dialogue where you can actually sell the Greywolf fur for double of what you purchased it for in Artie. Now I finally got the 25k I needed for my games room, along with the 2 oak planks I needed to build the hoop and stick. What I didn't count on but discovered was that the hoop and stick game tends to miss a lot, not granting any range EXP at all. Therefore, at lower levels, even though it's the lowest tier construction range training, you literally will miss probably around 5 out of 6 times. Unfortunately, what happens next in this adventure is one of Jagex's worst mistakes to date. Before just showing up to check out what this twisted bow is about just spawning on the ground, I had spent a couple hours after the update training at the hoop and stick toss, just to get rerolled back from 12 to 8 range. But about 6 hours later, I ended up getting 25 range and avoiding what would have been probably 20 plus hours for farming a cannon. Now that we had that only stat requirement for all 3 quests, which took us many hours, I could go ahead and do the prereq quests for Underground Pass. But it wasn't that easy, and even just getting the small items like snape grass for the quest seemed to be somewhat difficult. Luckily though, as we all know, Plague City is a relatively easy quest, so I really had no trouble once we actually got into it. Now, Biohazard wasn't bad until I realized that you weren't able to get into the Mourner house without an account that is actually at the current step of the quest where you put the apple in the cauldron and get the doctor's gown. So unfortunately, I literally had to quest another account through Plague City and part of Biohazard to this exact step in order to help my other account kill the Mourner for the key drop. Therefore, you can actually get the key from the Mourner on the Iron Man with using the alternate account because it's not actually a drop from the NPC, it actually places the key in your inventory on its death. Now that Biohazard is complete, we have all the requirements to do Underground Pass with these crazy restrictions and only potatoes, as well as being a hardcore Ironman. Did you all know that one of the first traps in Underground Pass quest, the Maze Random, deals 15 damage no matter your HP level per fall? Not to mention, Mithril Seeds and other interfaces used to go over this trap in prior videos has since been patched. So how will I pass this with only 10 HP and potatoes? Well, guess what? You'll find out in the next video of Potato Only Hardcore Ironman. Thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.